welcome to 98.9 Northwest FM. This is Matthew, also Matty Jake. It's CarTorque. I'm joined in the studio by James and Adam. How you going, guys?
Good, what's going on?
How you going?
Tonight we've got a few topics we're going to talk about. So, first of all, how you guys going? How are your cars?
Still going good, James?
Mine's hasn't fallen apart yet. We talked before. It's a Japanese car, so it should last. It should last a little longer than perhaps
than your average car. Well, that's what we're going to talk about in later on towards the end of the show. We're going to talk about Aussie cars versus Japanese cars. But yeah. So in the meantime, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant because I love a good rant, especially after the Focus RS escapade. But what we're going to talk about today in the news, the Northern Territory's got a stretch of highway that it's unlimited. There's no speed limit on it, basically. And what happened was 4 years ago they said, as a trial, we're going to see how we go, to see if there's any fatalities or anything. And if there is, we're going to reduce the speed limit back to 130 kilometers per hour. What they've done is, after 4 years, the new Labor government's gone in there and said, no, we're going to get rid of it. And the reason why? Because pretty much because they feel like, I reckon, revenue raising, we'll talk about off air. There has not been one fatality. There has not been nothing on that road since then. People are driving and people are concentrating at high speed. People are really focusing when they're driving at those speeds. People are driving at what speed they feel comfortable. And that's the main thing. It's a long piece of road. There's nothing there. I can understand if an animal runs out and stuff, but there's still, you think there would have been, and there's not been one death. If the Autobahn can have this for years, Australia's had it for 4 years, not one fatality, where are the statistics to say, hang on a minute, we're not going to have this just because we feel like it. There's no stats backing it up.
Well, that's the thing. What's the point of a trial? A trial is to get statistics, and it's clear as day that they've got the statistics, right? They know that there's been no fatalities, no major accidents. I don't know if there was any accidents at all. And, there's your answer. It's fine. It's okay.
And look, as I said, we're talking about off air, James and I, about the Autobahn. The Autobahn's one of the most safest, roads in the world, and it's way longer than...
The Autobahn is 10 times as long, 10 times as wide as anything we have in Australia. They have, no speed limit, and it's safer. There are less accidents than any freeway we have in any place. So the fact that it was, this place in Northern Territory was proven to be safe, they're just looking for an excuse to make policy changes to make a show of force, to say, we're doing things, we're the new government, just when they have no real basis for it, and they're fixing something that wasn't broken. In fact, they're fixing something that was better than what it was originally.
Exactly right.
In the end, all this is revenue raising. It's all for the money. They don't really care about our safety or how efficient it is or blah blah blah. It's all about money making, and that's all they want. They just want to make more and more money to line their pockets.
And at the end of the day, that they say, like for example, speed cameras save lives. Where's the statistics for that?
That's not true at all.
That is not true at all. It's the biggest fallacy of any road going rule and stat, because one, people have to jam on the brakes when they see him. People can hit them up the backside. People can
People go slower than they have to.
Yeah.
There are more accidents in places where it goes from 40 to 50 to 40 to 50.
Yep.
Because people have to constantly, change their speed, keep an eye. Whereas in these places where the speed is steady, there's less accidents or no accidents. So it's not even about safety. It's about, like Adam said, money.
And I was reading this thing about, if you ever notice on the freeway when they've got like 50, so they've got like 80, then it goes to 100 and it goes back to 80 again. You know what their reasoning is behind that?
Tell me.
To break up the traffic.
It makes more traffic.
Exactly right, because it banks everybody up. That is their reason. But
That's
I
I know people can't see me right now, but my eye is like my eyebrow. My eyebrow is cocked like the wrestler, The Rock, and like I just because I'm so like what?
Yeah,
That doesn't make
and
any sense.
Mine is twitching from the anger.
Yeah.
Because I know what it's like going into the Burnley Tunnel. It starts off at 80, it's 80 on the freeway. The entrance to the tunnel is 60, and then the rest of the tunnel is 80. Tell me what is that achieving? I mean, I understand people are going to be entering the tunnel at a lower speed, but if you got a constant flow, it's not gonna cause dramas.
and look, I think they do that to get to trick people out as well. I reckon just because they do it also where the cameras are. Like the Burnley Tunnel's got cameras freaking
Yeah.
The
everywhere.
Burnley Tunnel's got cameras, but the cameras don't move. I mean, if you know where they are, you know where to
Well,
speed.
yeah.
So look, in the end, cameras they're not doing anything.
Well, and at the end of the day, as you know, as all the accidents are happening, it's the speed. The speed's never killed anyone. Let's get that very clear. Speed has never killed a single person. What's killed people is fatigue, inexperience, and a lack of knowing what just to generally do on the road. I see it everywhere. I saw her on the way here. A lady just drove straight in front of me.
I think she saw you too. She was just like, man, whatever.
Well, anyway,
I don't even know what the hell that was about.
anyway, I gave the new Hello horns a good christening with her. So I don't normally use my horn, but
She deserved it.
she deserved it.
Definitely.
Training as we move on to the subject, training.
Yeah. Driver education, really.
Driver education is the key, and that's where Australia's gone wrong. Look how good Germany is. I got a mate from uni. He's from Germany, and he's like to me, to get your license in Germany. I even watched this in a documentary. You have to drive a stretch of the autobahn. We don't drive any freeways here. We don't drive anything here for our tests. They have to do it there. It's part of their driving curriculum.
Yeah, a lot of important stuff that you need to know, like freeways, are just not covered in the test.
I mean, like, you'd be lucky if you did parallel parking. I mean, they skipped it for my test. I ran the stop sign, and it's now considered a critical error and not a failure. That critical error is the difference between life and death.
Yep.
And I still passed my test. Not that I run stop signs, but you know what I mean. It's something that on the test that should have been you fail.
Yep, it should have been. Look, you got your license, but legit should have been a fail.
It used to be. It used to be, and they changed it to a critical error. Maybe because a lot of people were doing it. I don't know.
See, it just makes no sense to me at all because it's driver education is the key, and the fact that they're letting that happen is just makes.
I didn't fly through that stop sign. I rolled. It's like a giveaway. You sort of creep forward to see, and then you just take off.
Yeah.
Stop sign, you had to come to a complete stop. But nevertheless, it was a critical error, not a failure. I should have been failed. They could have been more strict.
They could have been, and that's why places in like Germany are harder to get their license because it's so stringent. And the quality of the education is vital.
I don't think America's probably not the best example of road safety, but I don't think they have it here. But they're even in high school they have driver's ed programs, and I don't think we have anything like that here. So it'd probably be better for us to educate drivers even when they're younger, and even before they even touch a car, just to get prepared for it in the future.
Look, I completely agree because they say, oh, P-platers are the problem. P-platers are the problem. They don't know how to drive. Of course, they don't know how to drive because they've honestly never had the correct the correct experience. Giving them 120 hours, 95% of them forge it.
That was pointless.
Let's be honest here. This is education is the key. And we're not giving it to them. But having said that, the school I'm teaching at the moment now has got for the year 10s that are 16, and they've got the learners. You can do the driver's ed course, which is really cool. Which I think I've never seen it in Australia before.
Yeah.
I reckon it's the best. I reckon that's one of the best things you can do for a person that age, just beginning to learn how to drive. Just get that hands-on knowledge, not just say, okay, here's
confidence as well.
That's what it comes down to, confidence.
Confidence is a big thing when it's on the road. If you're too scared to take off at a roundabout, you can cause an accident. The person behind you can think you're going as you start to move forward, and you hit your brakes.
Yeah.
Causes a rear-end accident. Even though you're not at fault, they're at fault. It's confidence. Confidence is a big thing on the road.
And
not too much of that.
Oh yeah, not too much. You don't want to think you're
You don't want to be cocky.
Cocky and go hectic. I'm hectic. I'm sideways hectic. But yeah, it's it's a touchy subject, but from what we've said here, I think the major key is education, not discrimination for drivers, because you can do because you can do 100 kilometers per hour, but then at the same stretch of road, like for example, driving to Sydney, we drove to Sydney earlier in the year. It's 110 the whole way. It's a straight piece of road. Surely minimum 130.
If you're going to residential areas and everything, I can understand.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a different story.
If it's dead empty freeway, seriously, we're not back in the 70s where cars couldn't control it.
Yeah.
ESP, ABS, all this stuff. There's no need for it. There's no need for such a low speed limit. Cars can handle it.
They can.
I think we already mentioned it, but when people are going that fast, they're concentrating more.
Yep.
And when there's a steady speed limit, you don't have to stop. They don't have to worry about, that thing. And also, if there was no speed limit, like the Autobahn, for instance, people are going to go the speed they're confident at.
Yeah.
They're confident with.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And they actually have lanes for just your average driver.
Yeah.
Which, for some reason in Australia, we can't figure out how to do. We were stuck in the right lane or just don't know how to drive. But confidence and education are just the two most important, vital things. And I think Australia needs to really take a good hard look at himself. Look, the government needs to take a good hard look at themselves and say, this is what we're doing wrong. This is why we're trying to get towards zero with the deaths.
Yeah, and it's still going up.
It's still going up. It goes up. It's going up again every year. So it's been reduced since we've got airbags and that again. But they just need to. I think the whole system needs to be relooked at. Anyway, look, we got to go to a song. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to 98.9 Northwest. 98.9 Northwest FM. This is CarTorque with Matty J. I'm still here with Adam and James, and I'll see you on the other side. And we got a text from Patrick, and he says, I didn't give away and I found the biggest load of crap, mate, because this government is off their bloody chops. So I'm guessing he's in relation to what you were saying, Adam, before about how...
I ran a stop sign.
Yeah, you ran a stop sign and they failed. It just shows that there is inconsistency and they generally just don't know. We've got also a message from Dazza, but I'm not too sure what that was said. So... so just recapping, we're talking about the change in the speed limits in Northern Territory, which is really just confusing. But anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on from this. Another thing we're going to say, James.
Well, was it? I think 2 weeks ago, the last Australian-made car.
The Falcon, Falcon Ute.
Last Falcon Ute ever to be manufactured in Australia had rolled off the line, and all the plants are closing and moving overseas. And I wanted to give a shout out to a comic strip called Winding Up the Window by a guy called Sam Wallman, which he made for SBS.com, and it's just a really cool strip with images and words about the history of the Australian automotive industry, and the people it employed and the immigrants who worked in the plant and their families, and how it's fallen to the point where it no longer exists and those people no longer have jobs, and the future is looking not so bright, or we can never tell the future. So, but in this case, it's like the end of something that's very I think I said it right at the start. Those cars are part of Australian culture, so it's like the end of something very important to the core of what it is to be Australian.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. And back then, when if you're an immigrant, I was reading on that 2 days in the country, you got a job for Ford.
Yeah.
And back then
you learn English on the shop floor.
Exactly right.
And you make friends and you become a family on the shop floor.
And the bottom line is, back then, if you had a job at a car company, you had a job for life.
Yeah.
You were it was that's it. You wouldn't have to go anywhere else before you're off there. So these people that have worked there for say 30 odd years, what they're gonna do?
Well, now most of them are too old to get work again.
Learn new skills.
Yeah, new skills, and there's not a lot of jobs. I mean, some of them will go into other similar industries, but most likely most of them won't work ever again.
Which is really sad, and also you have to think about not just people that are working in the plants, but you got to think about the people that, like, the companies that make the small bolts and all
the subsidiary companies.
Exactly
and
right.
Not directly working for the car plant, but the outside, and the people who work in the towns that were built
Mm-hmm.
for the people who worked at the plant. So it's going to affect a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
Your take on it, Ads?
It's pretty sad.
It is.
It is pretty sad. Look, Ford and Holden have been battling it out for years in Australia, and it's cool. I mean, look, Toyota was made here.
Mitsubishi was on stage.
Mitsubishi, Chrysler. Look, there's been many manufacturers.
Nissan even, actually.
Yeah, Nissan. But look, to have them go, it's bad news for a lot of people. It's bad news for all of us. Yeah. And look, in the end, the only person to blame, or the only, let's say, group of people to blame is the government.
Yep.
All the Euro cars that have come in, the Jap cars that have come in, they gave everyone a choice to buy all these other cars and put our own, our neighbour really in trouble, because they're the people that work. They manufacture these cars. They put all their heart and soul into it, and they're buying cars made overseas cheaply.
Exactly right. That's what it comes down to, the dollar sign, which is really, really, really sad. But
the government even antagonised the auto industry, like saying, well, we don't care if you don't like it, leave.
Yeah.
And literally, like Joe Hockey said something like that, and literally the next day, all the main car companies left.
Yep.
And that's not okay. Like, that's a really bad thing, and it's funny how such an important industry like the car industry is the government talks about how it's unsustainable, and it's we have to bail them out and all this stuff. But when they talk about the mining industry or the coal industry, it's all about it's important for our infrastructure and it's a good investment. And it's like, you're talking about two major industries, one, the cars, which are very positive in a negative light, and the coal and all that stuff in a positive light, even though it's not particularly, and we're not seeing a lot of the profits that come from that. So they're all over the place. They just have no idea how to support industry in this country, and new industry, and for the future. And the people who are no longer working at the plants can't go on to new industry because the government's not bringing anything else over here. Everything's going overseas.
That's right. And we're going to sit back in, like, say 10 years and say, what does Australia make? Oh, we don't make anything anymore. That's it. It's...
Yeah. Even our, like, eucalyptus oil will come from Hong Kong or something. I don't know. Everything you expect we'd make is now from somewhere else.
Daz sent us a message and he's like, I want to thong the bloody government. Un-Australian. So...
A good thongin is what they...
He's not far off it, though.
He's pretty much spot on. Anyway, well, we've all had a little rant here about what's going on. So to blame is the government, but we can't really say that. So just education and a different mindset is, I think, what we need.
Yeah, we have to start looking towards the future and not looking about how much money can we make right now.
Yep.
Like, we have to figure out what are the industries to bring over, the sustainable industries, green energy, solar energy, all that are going to last a long, long time and employ a lot of people and bring a lot of money over the period of time, instead of going, hey, we can make a lot of money, like, right now if we just ship everything overseas and ignore the future, basically.
With all that being said, though, I do believe Ford are keeping some of their R&D guys here.
They are, yes. So Ford, and I think it was last year or the year before that, it's that they want to keep their design team and their, you're right, the R&D.
It's a global design, global R&D, I guess, for
Australasia.
Okay.
So for example, we're going to be making like designing all of Asia's cars and stuff right here in Broady. So they're pretty much going to sell off pretty much the whole Broady plant, except for a small bit where they design and all that. So.
Oh, that's interesting. At least the Australian design won't die with the manufacturing.
Well, we won't, because it just shows how good we are. We've got like cars like that have, okay, they're not built yet, but the Everest, the Ranger, winning awards and just fantastic cars.
Yeah.
They're not in Thailand yet, but they were designed here. And you know, the same goes with the Falcon and the Commodore. Designed here, built here. Okay, they share some parts with some, like, you know, some cars overseas, but the majority of it's built here. You know, like, it's and designed here.
Yeah.
Our R&D's gone into these cars, and you know, it's if that goes well, pretty much Australia goes with it. To be honest, like, it is sad in that aspect, but we'll move on. I think before we get into a bit more of a sad state. Australian cars versus Japanese cars. So, considering we're on the topic of, you know, bringing other people's cars in, let's have a chat about what we like about each thing. I remember watching a documentary when the Laser was first brought out here in Australia back in the early 80s, when they went from the Escort to the Laser. And it was one of the bosses of Ford at the time, and he was like, the Laser was good for us because we actually saw how the Japanese were making cars. So they were using some of that technology and some of that style because they were making their cars, the Laser in the Homebush plant in Sydney, which no longer exists, of course. And they said it was one of the best things to happen for them because they learned so much about different techniques to build cars and all that.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure, but before that, you know, in the 60s and 70s, most Aussie cars were like big American style.
They were tanks.
They were tanks,
V8
like
straight sixes.
metal monsters. Yeah. And then I guess the Japanese changed their way of thinking.
Yeah, well, you know, it's and that's a big comparison because like your typical Aussie made car is a big car.
And their majority, if not all, rear-wheel drive.
Rear-wheel drive, yeah.
Rear-wheel drive, family cars, big cars.
Yeah.
The Japs turned that around.
Well,
front-wheel drives, cheaper to be made.
Yeah.
But still really good, really reliable cars. So.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, you know. So in Japan, the streets aren't as big, and in Australia, the streets are bigger, and we've always had like the family sedan to put people in, which is different now. It doesn't exist because it's everyone wants an SUV, and to be honest with you,
that's another silly thing.
It is. The SUVs to me are pointless cars.
Yeah.
I know my dad's got a Territory, but having said that.
Yeah, but hang on. Territory's got how many seats? 7.
7 seats.
You can't fit 7 people in a not say Falcon, but a sedan.
You can't. So like, it's a big SUV, and that makes sense. But these tiny little, based on Fiestas and Barinas, jacked up. You know, what is the point of that? I don't. People just like the higher driving position, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I get it, but
I feel safer driving higher, but it's not really.
At the end of the day, they're not. You know, they're just pointless. Like, especially in Europe, SUVs are, and in the States especially, SUVs are huge.
Oh yeah.
So like,
Escalade.
You know, Escalade, bloody Hummers and that. But you know, it's a good contrast because Australia's always had the Aussie wagon or the Aussie sedan.
Yeah.
Chuck all the stuff in there and go. Now it's just like, okay, well, we've got all these options from all over the world, especially Japan and Europe. That give good competition, you know what I mean? So like, for example, from Toyota, Honda, Mazda, or especially and Nissan especially, Nissan's latest ad campaign was saying, we're proud to have Australia's largest SUV range. That's nothing to be proud of. Like, you know, but they'll sell cars because people want SUVs.
Yeah.
You know, so it's it just shows the good contrast between the two, especially Australia and Japan, and the way they've marketed the cars. And that's another thing where I think Australia's fell behind is because while people have moved on towards SUVs, we've tried and stuck with like Commodores and Falcons. Well, Ford did make the effort with the Territory, and Holden did with the Adventurer, which was just pretty much a jacked up car, which is what the Falcon is anyway, which is what the Territory is anyway. But the differences between the two like the Japs, for example, offered a whole range, that small, medium, and large SUVs.
Yeah.
Whereas pretty much Australia's just like, well, all we can do is just this.
Just one. Yeah.
So do you blame the manufacturers? Do you blame Holden? Do you blame Ford? Like, you know what I mean? Do you blame them for not
It's a hard one.
getting with the times?
It's a hard one. You see, what they've done is, well, for example, in Holden's aspect, is they've brought the Korean-made, Captivas.
Which just did not do well for them.
Well, it's doing well now, but it's still not. It's still based on an old car, which is what the Territory is anyway. But they've brought in the tracks. They've brought in.
But see, that's another problem though. They're Korean. You just said it yourself.
Korean
They're
cars.
Korean cars. Yeah. They do nothing for Australia.
Yep.
They may do well for Holden sales.
Yep.
Holden being GM.
Yep.
They don't mean nothing for Australia.
They don't, and that's exactly right. And then same thing with Ford. Their small SUVs are from Europe. They're European based. So, and I think they even made in I think they probably made in Thailand and whatever it is now. But having said that, that's where I think Australia's got left behind. And you're right, they didn't get with the times, and but you can't say they could have spent all the money on the R&D here for that when they just couldn't have really, because obviously the funding's a big thing here. If they're only selling pretty much two main cars, Commodore and Falcon, there's kind of no point when they can just grab cars.
They're not going to make their own car when they can just import one and make the money off of that.
That's exactly right, and that's why I think Japan especially is really good, because Japan just say, screw it, we'll just do it our own way, and that's the way they've always been, and as you see, Japan's had their they've got their cars. So like if you walk into for example a Mazda dealership, you walk in and you'll see sports cars, you'll see MX-5s and that. You walk in and you'll see sedans, you see hatchbacks. So they've got those three covered. Then they've got I think 3 different SUVs. They've got the CX-3, CX-5, and CX-9. Oh, so 4 CX-7 as well. Yeah. That's 4 SUVs in their range. Their SUVs outnumber all of their other cars.
Yeah,
pretty much. So it's
huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And Australia, to be honest with you, didn't get with the times. And I think the government reducing the tariffs and all that on imported cars.
That was my point before. They reduced that, let a lot of cars in, gave people options, I guess.
Yeah, and giving people those options really did make it's killed the Australian car manufacturing here, which is sad. But well, let's talk about the comparisons anyway. So, performance car wise, if you were to say, well, our performance cars here, like Aussie made performance cars, are big sedans. Really, they don't really have any other option, because as we're talking about, that's just got the Commodore and the Falcon. They put up a good fight compared to a lot of cars, compared to the Japs and stuff, because the Japs have got specific sports cars. They got like the Rexes, Evos, obviously STI, WRXs as well.
And look, the Japs have been turboing for a long time.
Yeah, big time.
They've been boosting cars.
Yeah, family cars.
For ages.
They just chuck a turbo in there.
Oh look, these days everyone's getting a diesel, right? A turbo diesel.
Yeah.
So these days it's more about economy than it is power, but the diesels are getting up there in their power ranges, I guess.
That's exactly what I think. Especially in Europe, I don't know if this is Jab versus Oz, but they got some of these diesels that are quicker and more powerful than bloody petrol cars, and it's just and the torque they turn out's insane.
Yeah, but that's another topic anyway.
But that's another thing for another day. But having said that, diesels they got Forester diesels.
The Boxer diesels.
Boxer diesels, that's right.
Which is cool. They're turbo.
They're
turbo as well. So look, that's interesting. It's like I was saying. Sorry. So the Japs have been turboing for a long time, and Aussies have always been naturally aspirated. So you got your Holdens, your Fords from back in the day to now, and when they started turboing since 2003, or was it thereabouts?
2002, yeah.
2002 with the BAs.
Late 2002.
Yeah, so that's when they started turboing their cars. I mean, they had I guess they had the stroker kits and the AUs and everything.
Yeah, in the T3s.
Did they have the superchargers in any of them?
No.
They didn't have the superchargers, but I guess Holden had their supercharged. They had the supercharged Buick engines in them, I guess, at some stage.
In the Super 6,
I guess.
The Super 6, they had them since
late 90s, I believe.
Yeah, mid to late 90s.
Yeah. So I mean, we did have some performance, a few performance options in the Aussie range. Then once they stepped that up to the turbo 6s, the straight 6 Fords, that was pretty cool. I mean, that's something that that Holden could not compete with, and that's why Holden dropped their XU6, I believe.
That's exactly right.
So
yeah.
now that's something to be proud about. I mean, that's Aussie engineering.
It was.
And the six with the Barra
Barra
was
6, yeah.
was 100% Aussie.
Yeah, it is.
I believe.
Yeah, it is.
So that's pretty cool. And I don't know if they exported that much at all, did they?
It went to NZ and territories went to Thailand, I believe.
Yeah.
But
It's just not enough.
it's,
I mean,
it's not enough.
if they up their export rate, I mean, what was it? I mean, you could tell me yourself that, I don't know, some of the FPVs were beating supercars.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, that's incredible, but it didn't get noticed. No one batted an eye.
At the end of the day, the car companies had that choice. Holden exported the Caprices, exported the Commodores to a lot of places in the world.
I think the Americans had them as cop cars. The
Caprices
I
they
believe.
did, and they had the SSs of Pontiac G8s and the Chevrolet SSs.
Yeah. But could you imagine if I mean, let's talk about the Yanks for a second here again. So they had the Crown Vic, I believe, for the cop cars, and they still use them, right?
Yeah, believe it or not.
So even though they stopped,
they're phasing them out.
Yeah, so they're phasing them out. Their next option could have been Falcons.
They could have been.
It could have been Falcons. I mean, imagine Australia exporting all these Falcons for cop cars over there. Mate, incredible. That would have been amazing. A massive boost.
It would have been.
That would be a massive contract too, like a long, expensive,
big money contract.
Yeah.
They would have. I mean, you see, every cab is a Ford, is a Falcon. If they're good enough for cabs over here, you send all the boosted Falcons to America. They'll be laughing.
Well, a lot of forums and I read a lot of stuff on Facebook and stuff. Like people in the States are just like, we want these engines, and they're actually importing them. They're buying Rectons, importing them, making massive power out of them. So the fact of the matter is, if they would have done that, Ford in the States would have been like, we'll just build the car here.
He would have probably stolen it from Australia, I guess.
Exactly right. But we'll continue this. We're going to go to a quick break. We're going to go to another song. We're going to go to, that's right, 98.9 Northwest FM. You're back on CarTorque with Matty J. Still in the studio with James and Adam. We're talking Aussie versus Jap. So we've just talked about Australia and Australia's problems with their cars at the moment. So now we're going to move on to the Japanese cars. So Japs have been really, really ahead with technology for a long time. I reckon, to be honest with you, a good Lexus is on par with, like, technology-wise, pretty much anything. So, what are your thoughts about that, Ad?
Look, from what you've taught me a few things. Now, I remember your dad's or your family's Camry.
Back in the day, yeah.
That Camry you were telling me had, this feature, that feature. I was like, what year was it again? And you're like, 90 something. I was like, that's pretty good. I mean, I know the Mercs and the Beamers have had it, but we're not talking about that today. We're talking Aussie versus Jap. Now, the Aussie cars had nothing. Like, they really had nothing. Yeah. I mean, we talk about the 70s. They had... You were lucky if you had a radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
my mum had a 93 Mitsubishi Galant. It wasn't a great car. It had everything.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't... My friend has, I think, a 91... I want to say Magna. And it's got... I don't know what you call it. In the dash... It's got a stereo, like all the equalizers, the bass, the treble.
Oh wow!
all the little things, and it's it's not. He doesn't take care of it. It's all dusty and old.
Yeah.
But the sound in that thing,
it's clear.
It's better than my stereo system at home. I could just sit in his car and listen to music.
Wow.
And optimize it with the levels. Like the Japanese took especially electronics seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I'm not no expert, but I'm assuming American muscle cars do not do well when it comes to electronics.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing.
And Australian older 70s cars and stuff.
Exactly. Look, exactly right. And the Japs, that Camry I was talking about was a fully imported one from Japan. It was
okay. Was it Aussie delivered?
Yeah, it was Aussie delivered, but it was an imported one because they made them here.
Yeah, yeah.
But that car came with everything. Like, it came with auto lights, this is back in 91, yeah, and that model started in 89. For comparison for what you're saying, James, with the American muscle cars, Matt Farah's, you guys know who Matt Farah is, yeah. He's another automotive journalist. He said he bought an R32 Skyline GTR because they just got released because you can just buy them in the States now. He bought one of those, and he's got this for the same year. He's got a Ford Mustang, and he's like, how the hell did Ford sell this car compared to the Japanese car?
What year Stang was it?
89. Fox
89. Okay.
He's like, the Fox body is junk compared to
Yeah.
it. He's like this GTO drives like it's brand new today.
Yeah.
And he's like the Mustang drives like an old Mustang.
Yeah.
He's like these cars were released at the same time, two different parts of the world, but it just shows the technology that Japan had, and one they had the Tesla all-wheel drive system in the GDR.
Yeah.
They had that lovely RB26 twin cam twin turbo, all-wheel drive, 4-wheel steering. It's an incredible car, and in comparison, Ford had a Mustang with wind-up windows and a big V8, and it had less power.
But that's what the people were asking for.
And they still sold well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's in comparison. That's how far ahead the Japanese cars are. And back in, I think it was 89, they released the model, I think it was released in 91, the first Lexus LS400. So this was Lexus' second car, and it was their full ground up build. Had the wonderful 1UZ V8, 4-litre V8, which was, believe it or not, at the time the only engine, car automotive engine released allowed for aviation use. That's how over-engineered.
That's pretty cool.
And strong this engine was.
Mitsubishi used to make planes. I'd just like to point that
There
out.
you go.
Zero, shout out to the Zero fighter plane.
I believe Saab was in there too, but
Saab,
anyway.
yeah, that's true.
Yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah, some wasn't there. Anyway, this what was I saying now?
Sorry, I interrupted you
no,
with
you're
a
right.
fact that just popped in my head.
The Lexus car, the LS400, for example, you would turn your key off. This is back in 91. Turn your key off, take it out. The steering wheel would go back inside so you can get out easier. Had incredible options, and this is a car ahead of everything. That's how good the Japs are with their electronics and stuff like that. And a lot of those cars have done 300,000-400,000 kilometers today. You see them on car sales. They still look like brand new. They've held up. You try find me another car from either Europe or Australia that's held up that well. You won't. You just won't.
If my car was not Japanese made, it wouldn't exist. It'd be scrap, basically.
it'd be no good right about now. Well, look, the time is 7:47. We've got another quiz to get to. Adam's back in the hot seat. Second time round.
Hopefully better than last time.
What did you score last time? 6.5, right?
6 something, yeah.
You got 6.5.
6.5 is pretty good.
6.5 is pretty good. So Luca, believe it or not, my brother beat the score last week. I don't know how.
Did he get 8 or something like that?
You got 8 out of 10,
8,
yeah.
Okay.
So he just pipped Anthony Falk, and Anthony Falk's pissed. So shout out to you, Anthony, because you're not happy. So I don't know. Are you ready for this?
I hope so.
I'll get the mood. We'll set the mood. So we got our little background music. If you get, can you hear it coming through? Is it?
It's not helping,
we
but
need
yeah.
the law and order. Dun dun.
Yeah. And a criminal justice system. All right. So, question 1, Mr. Adam Grasso. The RPO option appeared on which model Falcon?
RPO. Can you help me out with RPO?
RPO 83 option.
Great. I don't know. I'm gonna.
If I tell you anything more, it'll give it away.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say.
It was. Okay, I'll give you a hint. It's after the. It's after the XY, but it's after that series. It could be any one of the new ones. So it's not XY or previous.
Let's say XD.
No.
No?
XA.
Oh, that was on my mind, but that's cool. That's cool. What? And elaborate on that a little bit more. What's this?
Oh, after the
Okay.
quiz, I'll get to it. Question 2. What was the first car to receive the M badge on a BMW? Think of it logically.
I mean, if I was thinking of it logically, M1.
Correct.
Cool.
Which was a supercar. What came first, the C36 AMG or the C43 AMG?
43.
36.
30.
Question 4. The two first generation Mitsubishi Eclipse shares its engine and drivetrain with what car?
Evo.
Correct. Question 5. What year did the R32 Nissan Skyline GTR come out? We just talked about this before.
Yeah. Jeez, I couldn't give you an exact year.
Count it back, 25-year rule.
Oh, okay. 91.
Couple years before, if you want. But
It's either 89 or 90.
yeah, take a punt.
89.
89, yeah, I'll give it to you.
Done.
Question 6. True or false? HSV, or we talked about this one earlier. HSV released a Commodore with a supercharged 3.8 V6.
Correct. XU6.
XU6, correct. Question 7. The original Toyota Corolla Sportivo Turbo came in what colour only?
Gold.
Correct.
That's a sick car.
That is a cool car.
And not many of them too.
They're very rare. Question 8. The Holden Commodore is set to finish production in what year?
2017.
Correct. Question 9. What year did the final RX-7 come out in?
Final RX-7.
FD, one of the last ones. What was the last year for it to be released?
2001.
Oh, 2002.
Close.
Close. Question 10. The Toyota Altezza shares its chassis and design with what other car from Lexus?
The I know this one. The IS range.
Yep.
IS 200, 250, whatever you want. Yeah.
Yep, cool. Give you that one. So, let's count them up, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay,
Well,
better than
pretty
before.
good.
Better than before. Okay.
7 out of 10 for the big grass owners. 1 behind Luca, so you've shared second with Anthony. He's going to be even more angry now. So, shout out to you, Anthony. You're going to be pissed. But yeah, so good, some hard questions
So
there.
yeah,
RPO.
elaborate a little bit on that. I'm interested now.
So what RPO was? RPO came in two options. RPO 83 and later it came in the RPO Superbird. Basically, what RPO was do you remember the supercar scare?
Not really, but tell us about
basically, the supercar scare was when they were going to release the GTHO Phase 4 in the XA.
it. Yeah.
They made 4 of them, and then the government's like, you're building these cars that are too fast. Basically, we won't buy your cars as government cars anymore if you release these cars. So Holden, Ford, Chrysler just shut their performance like arms
What
down.
year was this? Because
70, I think it was 72 or 73.
Because that correlates with Chrysler stopping the RTs,
Yep,
I believe.
Yep, that's why.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
So basically, they had all these parts left over for obviously the whole E4, and they said, how can we this is, I believe this is what it is. They said, obviously we've got to sell it. So if you ticked an RPO option, you got like the bigger cam, bigger carbs, and you got a 4-barrel carb and stuff like that. And they were like a real weapon. It was a GT RPO, so they were a real weapon of a car. This is back, and it obviously wasn't the Phase 4, but it was as close as you were ever going to get to getting one.
Yeah.
And now people have realised what they were, and now RPOs are starting to go up.
An XA is already up there,
Yeah.
and you get a limited run like that with stuff that wasn't actually supposed to be released. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's what RPO option 83 was.
RPO, nice.
So yeah, it's a pretty cool story. You got to look into that one. But we're gonna go to our last break of the show. We've got another song. You're back on 98.9 Northwest FM. We're done for tonight, guys. We are done. Thanks.
That was a top show, I reckon.
That was good. Good conversations tonight.
Yeah, it was. We talked about the big topics.
We have so much. We could elaborate so much. I still want to talk about the Japanese automotive industry, because that seems to be booming for the last 50 years, and it doesn't seem to be going downwards.
Doesn't seem to be stopping.
Yeah, I want to learn about that. So we go on for ages, but maybe I'll come back next time. If people aren't sick of me, I'll come back.
Definitely no stopping. Well, thanks again, guys, for coming on.
No worries.
Stay tuned, though. We've got Stratos coming on. He's just in the studio with us now. He's got a show, Street Hustle, coming up for the next hour. Real good listening, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we'll see you next week. Take it easy.